This is my end of the season in the bag. I've been playing mostly professional tournaments this year, all in open pretty much, trying to cash at events and stuff like that. And I am currently 976 rated on PDGA. So I'm a decent disc golfer in the Iowa area. I think I've built up a pretty decent career in disc golf so far. So this is exactly what's going to be in my bag next year, probably when it starts. But this is what I ended the season with pretty much. So, first off, we have the putting putters, the D line P2s. These are really beat in putters now. I'm going to have new ones next year, so be on the lookout for that. But these are really straight and just spin them right at the basket pretty much. It's consistent for me. I've been using these for 2 years now, and I have two in my bag at all times because if I lose one in the water, then I'm gonna need another one. But if I lose both, just gonna have to choose something else to putt with. But this is what you see me putt in all of my videos pretty much. All of my putting videos are pretty much P2s. Yeah, I think they're one of the best putters out there right now. So I think everybody should have a pair of P2s just to try out, even if you don't like them. They're a little bit deep for some people, but they fit my hand pretty well and pretty perfectly. So this is what I putt with most of the time. And then for a throwing putter in this top pocket, I have a Tour Series Luna. This will not be in my bag probably to start next year because it got a little bit flippy on me. Reliably overstable. So I would just throw it flat and it would just fade a little bit left. It was a great throwing putter. Recently, I've hit too many trees with this because I'm still only 976 rated. I'm not a pro disc golfer, but this is a great throwing putter. I throw pretty much exclusively Lunas when I have throwing putters, so this might be in my bag to start off next year, but this is what I ended the season with. For another throwing putter that I have, I used this Luna right here. This Luna right here has been a staple in my bag. Shout out Keith for giving me this Luna because if I didn't pay him the $30 for it, I don't know what I would have thrown at nationals most of the time. So this one was used pretty much at nationals. This is my favorite run of Lunas too. I think it's 2021 or 2022 Tour Series Luna. It's got stability. It flies dead straight. It's a great throwing putter. If you know me in the Ames area, I am throwing this Luna or another Luna most of the time because I am primarily a putter and mid-range player, but this Luna has been a workhorse for me and it's been to nationals twice now, I think. So it's a great disc. Going on from that, we have my zones that I keep in my bag. We're gonna start off with this zone right here. This Bear Heart zone I got at the DGPT at Pickard Park, Disc Golf Pro Tour. It was like 25 bucks on the shelf, and it was a color shift glow zone, which I like the most. So I got it, and this one's really my overstable zone that I use most of the time. So I pop it out flat and it starts dumping immediately at like 100, 150 feet. It's just in the bag to cover my other zone, which is the one that gets used a lot more. So this other zone that I have is a Adam Hammis UV zone. This thing I think is the best zone that I can possibly buy. I lost another one at Blue Ribbon Pines, unfortunately, but this pink one that I have, it doesn't really show pink in the UV anymore, but I've had it since last year, and this is my go-to zone. If I lose this, it's like losing Anthony Barilla's Luna, so yeah, if I pull this out, it's more than likely gonna be a good shot. I don't really mess up with this disc. I have a lot of confidence in this disc. So if I lose it, then I'm kind of screwed. This one is hard to replace, and I'm trying to work on replacing it right now, but it's hard to beat up a disc this quickly, and that's this good. So this was used at nationals as well. this is a great zone. Hit me up if you have any more of these, honestly, because only me and my brother are the ones that I know that have these things. So let me know. Okay, that's pretty much all the approach discs. I have this slot right here, which is kind of an approach disc. It doesn't go anywhere. This is my brick in the bag. Just throw it in any really big winds and it will fly true. This is a Justice, Star City Shootout Justice. It you just pop it out flat and it starts dumping almost immediately. So this doesn't come out of my bag a lot. It's more of a utility disc, but I use it for forehands in the wind or backhands in the wind. So this is a really reliable overstable mid range. On to the mid ranges that I have. We're gonna start out with this KC Pro Rock. So if anybody knows me in the Ames area, I mostly throw rocks. Pretty much anybody I've played a tournament with, if I pull out a rock, it's also going to be a good shot, just like the Luna or the Zone. So I'm a slow disc player for the most part, and this is my flippy rock that I have in my bag. Just pop it flat, and it's got a little bit of turn to it most of the time. So this is a really good KC Pro rock. Mostly throw it for turnover shots and hyzer flips. Next, we have this beat up Verdict. This beat up Verdict is my go-to mid-range most of the time. So I use this in the woods primarily for dead straight shots or little flexes or really anything that's a straight shot with a little bit of fade. This disc is getting pulled out most of the time. I can throw this thing pretty far too, up to 350 feet. So it's a great disc. I wish more Verdicts came like this beat up, but you don't find this very often, honestly. So I was very grateful that he got me this and gave this to me, but I have used this a lot, and most of the time when I pull it out, it's pretty decent and straight. Then we also have this rock right here. This kind of fills the Verdict role kind of a little bit. This is my backup for the Verdict if I ever lose it during a round, pretty much. But it's an old rock. I can't say enough about rocks. I think if your hands fit in deep rimmed stuff, rocks are great to throw. They're dead straight with a little bit of fade most of the time. So this rock basically replaces the Verdict, and I use it on a select few shots. Now, this mid-range is a X-Out MD4, one of the old Discmania MD4s, Innova made plastic. My buddy Kester gave me this. He's 990 rated, so he's pretty good. But this is reliable in the wind. This is my overstable thrower. Not the Justice though, because that's too dumpy. This still has some glide to it. Mostly I use this disc for flex shots. In no wind or in wind, it goes dead straight. So it's a really reliable mid range. The MD4 fits my game pretty perfectly, honestly. Not an MD3, which is too straight for me, or not an MD5, which is too overstable. The MD4, the old ones. Hopefully, Discmania makes some more new ones coming up, but this slot fits perfectly for my arm speed. Okay, now we are on to the fairway drivers, which I carry. I carry six fairway drivers. They all get used pretty much. So starting off, we have an FD1. If you can't tell, I'm from Ames, Iowa, and I got slightly influenced by Gannon Burr to buy a Discmania disc, and for a good reason, because these are pretty good that I'm throwing. Some of them don't fit my game perfectly, but the FD1 definitely does. It pushes straight with a little bit of fade. My version of the T-Bird, if you guys ever use a T-Bird in your bag, this is my version of a T-Bird, so this is reliable in the wind even. It doesn't really flip over. It goes straight and then starts fading at like 300 feet. So it's a great disc. I throw this. It's on a 320-foot slight hyzer shot. So this is what that disc is used for. Next we have an Undertaker. Undertakers are pretty flippy fairway drivers for me. I'm more of a hyzer flip player, so it fits my game perfectly, honestly. This one's my understable one. I can pop it flat and it starts turning and it just holds it over the entire time. So this is a really good disc for me most of the time. In wind, it's not very reliable right now, but you can still get it to hyzer flip in the wind sometimes and still get a good flight out of it. But this is used for anything between 300, 330 foot shots, maybe even farther if I really want to hyzer flip something and get a lot of distance on it. Next, we have this titanium Undertaker. This is a different one. This is a 5-time one compared to this is a 4-time one that I just showed you. But this 5-time I also got from Kester. This is my reliable straight Undertaker. It's got a really flat profile, which really helps in the wind. So this is probably my farthest flying Undertaker if I really pump on it. This Undertaker is a go-to, like my other Undertaker, for any fairway shot pretty much. Next we have the Onyx. I got this in a Titan U-spin because I wanted something that was a bit more overstable than my Undertaker, but still had a lot of glide to it. And me and my friends determined that it was this Onyx that I was looking for. This needs to come out of my bag because this is my crutch disc. I kind of use it a lot and nothing ever really goes well with this disc, except for the one time I threw it in a tournament. Other than that, this disc doesn't really do what I want it to do for me. It needs to get beat up a little bit more. Maybe that's why I have it in the bag, but this is my crutch in my bag. I used to throw Onyxes and I really liked them. This one is a bit too stable right now, but it does fit a slot in my bag, so it stays in my bag most of the time. We're gonna get this dialed in before next season. So now my two really overstable fairway drivers. We have an FD3. This is a older FD3. It's kind of beat up around the edges. This is my straighter FD3 that I use primarily on forehands and backhands. This was my go-to fairway driver at Nationals. It just held the line perfectly for forehands and backhands, straight and then dump. It's a great disc. All FD3s are pretty good and reliable, but this one was used a lot, and now it doesn't get pulled up out of my bag as much because I've hit a lot of trees with it. It's usually a flat shot that goes dumpy at like 250 feet. So next we have a Felon. Basically the same thing as an FD3, but this Felon is a lot more overstable, and I'm trying to beat it in right now so I can get like a slightly flippy Felon and then get another Felon because I think the FD3 is going to come out of my bag. But this Felon is mostly used for forehands for the most part. I don't really use it for backhands. I mostly use like an Onyx or an FD1. I don't really throw the 9-speed slot that often for a backhand for some weird reason. I don't really know. Maybe I just don't use it a lot, or I don't use it on my course a lot, but this doesn't really get thrown backhand. It's primarily a forehand disc. I will use this in the woods a lot to get out of trouble too on knife angles, and it will still flex out. So probably those two, the FD3 and the Felon, are the best ones I can find in my entire collection. So I do have a Firebird as well in the bag that I also need to get out too. This Champ Firebird sits in my back pocket of my grip bag most of the time. This is the concrete slab, just like the Justice pretty much. I only use this in like really windy situations because it's a FAF Firebird. It's just really flat and it barely goes anywhere, but it still has a little bit of glide. I could start using this a bit more. I have a Sexton Firebird that I could use with this that would pair up kind of nicely. This is really good for skip shots and if I would need to flex out of something or if I'm really in trouble somewhere in the woods. So I use this sometimes too. Lastly, we have the distance drivers. I carry 5 distance drivers. First one is this Cloudbreaker. This was one of Discmania's first releases of the Cloudbreaker. I think it is the first new release of the Cloudbreaker that they did. This is my really flippy distance driver, so I use it a lot on hyzer flip shots or turnover shots for the most part. Goes really far, probably around 400 feet would be my guess. I don't throw much more than 400 feet ever, so this is my max distance disc pretty much in my bag. This is my Halo Destroyer that I got at the Disc Golf Pro Tour with the Bearheart Zone that I showed you earlier. This Halo Destroyer is only used on backhands pretty much. It's probably my most reliable driver that I use right now. I got comments every time I pulled it out that I was going to throw a max distance shot and it'll just land far down the fairway. So this is a go-to disc for me. Yeah, it's a great overstable disc. It's a little bit flippy for some people, but for my arm speed, it's perfect. It just goes flat and then it starts dumping later in the flight. This is great. Even usable in the wind for me. I use this a lot of the time too. Okay, we have this Halo Destroyer. You're gonna see a common theme with these, but this Halo Destroyer is only used on forehands pretty much. It has a perfect dome to it that I can just put my fingers in and always know where the disc is gonna go out of my hand. I'm not really a forehand player for the most part, but this disc makes me look pretty good on the forehand side because it still flexes out sometimes. I use this for like 320-foot forehands or so. Even if I get that far, it's probably more like 300. This Halo Destroyer is really good and reliable in the wind. This is also a go-to distance driver for me when I need a little bit more turn than the Halo Destroyer that I showed earlier. This thing's only used on backhands as well, but this is a DGA Hurricane Andrew Marweed Tour Series. This is a really good disc, honestly. I think the Hurricane is pretty slept on by DGA. It's a great distance driver. It fits like the slightly beaten Destroyer. I lost my Destroyer that I'm about to show you, and this is what I put in my bag to replace it, and it has not left my bag since. It's a great disc, and I will be using this more and more and more, and it will probably get beaten like the Cloudbreaker. So this is exactly what I use as like, I know where this disc is going to go straight down the fairway most of the time. DJ Hurricane, great disc. Last but not least, we have my 2021 Calvin Heimberg Destroyer. This is also my baby in the bag. Other than my Zone or the Luna, this is my third baby that I have. I cannot lose this disc. I lost it for like 2 weeks and somebody found it, and I was struggling with the Hurricane because this is a crutch disc in my bag. But this I use on forehands and backhands. It's basically my max distance driver as well. It's beaten pretty close to the Cloudbreaker, but this thing is just so reliable. These Halo Destroyers that Innova has been making are one of the best discs out there right now, in my opinion. This disc just flips up nicely on both sides because it's so beat in, and it flies super far. So this is one of my go-to discs as well. Okay, some of my honorable mentions that I've used in tournaments as well recently because of discs being too beat up or not being able to use them in the tournament. These are some of them. This is a Zone. This is in between both of those zones that I have in my bag. I'm trying to beat this one up so I can have a replacement for the go-to zone, but this is really nice. It's right in between the other two zones. This Luna is a bit more stable. This is going to be in the bag for next year probably. I think I used this at Nationals a couple times too. Really good 6-time Luna. Really still pretty stable actually, as much as I've used it. So this will probably be in the bag for next year. This MD1 I used from Discmania. When it gets too cold for the rock, the DX rock, I use premium plastic most of the time so they won't break. And this MD1 it's a bit more stable than that, but honestly, this might make my bag for next year because I've been throwing great shots with it recently in the cold weather. So this is a reliable mid-range that goes dead straight as well. This hex was used in one tournament for one shot. I will put the shot in the video right now.
Okay, you can stop the video probably.
But yeah, that was not a good result from this shot. That's a really easy hole, 660 feet downhill. Longest ace in the world hole as well, but this disc failed me on that hole and will probably not be in my bag, but hexes are still good. I just suck with them sometimes. So it's either really good or really bad when I pick a hex up. Okay, that is my entire bag. I have some accessories and stuff. We have like climbing chalk for dryness of the hands, and we have some minis up in this slot, but none of that stuff's really important. You guys were here for the disc, so thank you, and hopefully this will be my bag for next year. I'll give an update if it's not, so thanks.